Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. So really excited to do this review. This is going to be the FPV style Unicorn 220 racing drone. I will have the link for this guy down in the description if you want to check out the current pricing and all the specs on this. If I miss anything in the review. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started with the unboxing of the Unicorn 220 race drone. So opening the top box and let's see what we're greeted with. Okay, so we're immediately greeted with some nice foam packaging, really compact and nice here. Got the Unicorn 220 Quick Start Guide in English and Chinese. And if you notice here on the top, really nicely done here. They've got this really nice foam padding on the top to really protect the motors and the propellers and stuff, the prop nuts and stuff. But anyway, let's go ahead and dig right into this guy. So the first thing we notice is carbon fiber. So this is basically a carbon fiber kind of sandwich drone. Again, 220 millimeter, and just look at how pretty this thing looks. We can see that we have a full carbon fiber on top, sandwiching plastic, and on the bottom another plate of carbon fiber. And then over here we've got these little motor pads on the bottom of the motors to kind of be our landing feet, as well as give the bottom of the motors kind of a protection. But really nice design. I'm really kind of digging this new kind of, I think this is really going to be where drones are going to be going, into this kind of sandwiched, kind of all-enclosed form factor, or also maybe like a hooded form factor. But anyway, we can see that we've got an adjustable camera here, and the adjustment is done by moving these little plastic screws on top. You can see that there's two plastic screws, and basically you can have it pointing that far up or basically straight down. So anyway, that's the camera for you, and then we have XT60 connector in the back. There's our FPV mount. Now this is basically a FPV racing drone that has everything integrated, ready to fly. It's got an OSD. It should have an OSD on screen. The transmitter's already built in, so all you need to do is screw on your video transmitter, pop on some goggles, and you're ready to go, because this one does come with a controller as well. But anyway, just kind of a closer look at the motors. Really nicely done here. I like the black and red tone they're going for. We got a couple of LED lights on the back, our micro USB slot for programming if we ever need to get inside there and do some programming. And on the front, that's our wide angle lens camera. And that's really just about it. I mean, you can see that it's just one solid piece of carbon fiber on the bottom, so really nothing to catch on or break or anything. So we should be able to do some really hard crashing on this thing, and it should hold up very well. Anyway, that's the very simplified drone. We'll get back to that in just a second. And let's just see everything else we get in the box here. So here's a charger, branded by FPV Style, and this is an up to 3-cell charger. I believe this version does come with a 3-cell battery, and I think you can actually use a 4-cell on this. And here's just basically the power plug to plug in the charger. And then let's see how many props they're giving us. So there's one set of propellers, 5" by 4.5. On this side we basically have a FPV antenna, so they're not giving us any kind of clover leaf, and actually it looks like they gave us the wrong antenna, so a little bit of a con there right out of box. This part of the antenna needs to have the male plug. The one on the drone is actually the female, but they gave me another female here, so that's not going to work. So I'm just going to put on my own clover leaf probably. So a little con out of the box in the QC department. They need to kind of double check that. Nothing else on the top piece of foam here, so let's go ahead and take that away. And let's see what we're getting down in the bottom of the box. So second layer, we've got the controller, and it looks like an adapter. So if you're in another country, they're actually throwing in this universal adapter if you're in Europe or some other countries. So that's basically what that is, giving you a little adapter in a little baggie. And there's the controller down there. So let's just go ahead and pull this up, and there's also some stuff underneath the controller. So let's take all this stuff out, get rid of this box. Looks like that's everything in the box. There's nothing else on the bottom. Okay, so here it is, the whole shebang for propellers, our charging equipment, a power adapter, drone, and the stuff we didn't talk about yet was the controller. So this is, looks like a Fly Sky kind of replica controller here that is included with a lot of the other drones out on the market now. 4 AA batteries in the back with a battery door that snaps nice and tight. Little trainer port there on the bottom, and I'm not seeing any stick covers on here, but it looks like they did include them in this little bag. So we got a little couple of stick grips there that we need to screw on. Here are the tops of the controller sticks, and it looks like the way we're putting these on is just first screwing on these little bottom pieces, and then we're taking the top parts of the sticks and screwing those on next. Okay, so those are on nice and tight. The last thing in the box is this other little bag, and let's see what's in here. So they're giving us only 2 extra propellers, so at least we got 2 extras. I would like to see 4 extras, but that's okay. 2 extras. You know, you're gonna need to buy some props anyway if you're getting into racing. Kind of a neat little universal wrench here. You can see it's a carbon fiber cut wrench. Like, it looks like it's gonna be kind of working maybe for our FPV antenna, and also to grip onto the motors, and also to you know, grip onto our propeller nuts. So kind of a neat little universal wrench they're including in the box. So we got an FPV style branded Velcro strap for a battery to put on top there, and also this dual lock kind of Velcro. So they're giving this in the package to probably to kind of Velcro your battery on the top here so the battery doesn't slip around. So you can cut that how you want, or just use regular Velcro. It just doesn't really matter. I forgot actually that this was in the box. I had taken it out previously and put it in my LiPo safe bag, and I just went and got it. But they do give you a 1500 milliamp 11.1 volt 3S 35C discharge battery with an XT60 connector. There's the balance plug, and I believe this one can take 4S. So you know, this is what they give you to start, and if you get better and want to be faster, I'm sure you can put a 4S on this one. But anyway, that's what they give us in the box. Let's go ahead and plug all this in and just kind of boot it up and see how it works before our flight test. Okay, so as far as mounting the battery, real simple. I just basically cut 2 squares of this dual lock Velcro tape. Unfortunately, the square goes right over that little peace sign they had, that graphic on the red. So you have to cover that up with the Velcro to get kind of a center of gravity on the battery. And then you have this left over for maybe another battery if you want to put this on another battery. But basically that's it. With this dual lock, you can see that the battery is kind of a little bit higher up than normal Velcro, just because there is that space, but at least it'll be maybe some better cooling. Anyway, that's the way that works, and then we can just plug in our antenna there. And speaking of antenna, let me just go ahead and throw on an antenna. You want to put an antenna on before you power up, just so you don't burn out the video transmitter. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab a polarized antenna, circular polarized antenna I have laying around. This is a left-hand polarized from, I don't know what this was from, another quadcopter, but let me just go ahead and screw this on. You want to make sure you have the pin on the antenna side, and let's just go ahead and screw this guy right on here. To make sure we can tighten this, I want to go ahead and take the battery off first, and then you can kind of see how this battery's working, just the dual lock there. They go ahead and they give us this wrench, a little bit funky because the wrench doesn't really work because it's actually right next to the XT60 connector. So it's going to be kind of hard to fit this, even if it does even fit on the, I'm not even sure if this fits on here, but anyway, regardless, I'm just going to try to tighten this a little bit. I think we're finally ready to go. So here we go. So turning on controller, you hear a little beep there, plugging in the craft. There we go. So we have initial startup and bind. And now what we want to do is turn on these goggles. Now these are head play goggles with the big screen. I'll probably be using my Fat Sharks with a small little screen, but this is just for display purposes since it's easy for you guys to see the screen. So just went ahead and plugged them in, and bam, so we've got some kind of image here. Let's go ahead and do a scan. It looks like the image is a little bit crappy, so let's just hold this top button and go ahead and scan for the channel, the clearest channel, and there we go. So we've got FPV. So let's see how this looks. And I'm also seeing some OSD in here. If you can kind of check this out, we have, it's saying it's in stable mode. It's saying, what is it saying here? On the top left, it has a little reticle there. Not sure what that means on the top left. And then on the bottom left, hopefully you guys can kind of see in here. Let me just try to zoom in. It's giving us our voltage right there on the bottom left. And it's got our throttle is 0% blinking. It says FPV style in the center on the bottom. And on the bottom right, it's giving us a countdown timer since we had power up. So you can see that there. So kind of cool. A little bit of OSD there inside the screen, which will be useful. Let's see what happens when we do change to different modes. So I'm not seeing that stable mode change in any way for some reason. So that's too bad. Okay, so left button here, this is actually arming. So we can see we have no motor action. We pull this down, we hear chime. Look at that. So there's our motors. We can even have throttle on, and the motors will disarm. So a good safety feature. Let's see if we see any changes in the screen when we do arm this. Okay, so you can see on the bottom of the screen there, it says armed. So it is kind of flashing at us, and then it goes away when it's armed there. I'm not seeing anything else up there change when I'm switching into any of the other modes. Let's go ahead and see what our latency is, if there is any latency whatsoever. So I just have you can see the goggles here, and let's see what the latency is like. So there is a tad bit of latency, maybe about 100 milliseconds. You can see how there's just a tiny bit of latency. So good enough definitely for FPV racing, but not entirely the best, but still good. So anyway, that was the goggles. Let's go ahead and unplug this and check this out. So you have the throttle all the way down, it starts chirping at you. So say you lose it in the grass, trees, whatever, and you have your controller on, it'll do that when the throttle's all the way down. If we turn off the controller, look what happens. There you go. So there's your beeper. So if you lost it, just turn off your controller when you're looking for it, and you'll hear this. So it's definitely loud enough to be able to go searching for it. And this should also actually have a low battery beeper. So it's going to be incorporating that same sound. When the battery is getting low, it'll also beep at you. So anyway, guys, let's go ahead and put on one propeller. For those of you that don't know how to put on propellers, what we're going to do is go ahead and just put on one, and this is going to be a counterclockwise thread. And all you want to do when you're putting on propellers is you want to make sure that your propeller is spinning into the front and into the back. So you want them to spin that way. And the way we do this is we want to make sure the top edge of the propeller, you want the writing to be on the top, and you want to make sure this is the top edge that's going and spinning the correct way. This top edge is going to spin into the front. So we want to put it on just like this. So these just, no locking mechanism, they just push down and they will spin unless you're tight enough. So you want to make sure you go ahead and tighten down these pretty good. These prop nuts don't have any kind of hole in them, so you are going to have to use this prop nut wrench. So let's see how good this works now. So actually that works really good. So the wrench they give you works great for tightening props. I was able to crank that down nice and tight by just holding the propeller. So if they can kind of figure something out to be able to use this to tighten the FPV antenna, that would be great. But anyway, guys, I hope you liked that initial unbox, inspection, and setup. We saw it working with the goggles. We saw that there's OSD in there, and we're able to see kind of what happens when we boot it up. And just a great look at this design. I really liking this design. I think this is going to be more popular throughout the year. This kind of all enclosed, as long as it stays cool enough. I mean, you don't want to have this powered up probably for a long time like I did without going and flying it and getting some airflow. So I'd recommend when you do have it on, go ahead and fly as soon as you can, just so you get that motor, that air pushed through the motors and into the chassis here. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget, I will have the links to all this stuff down in the description of where you can find this. And when that flight test video is going to be done, which will be pretty soon, I'll have a card pop up here, and I'll also have the links to that video down there below the video in the video description. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the flight test.